Giant squid. In 1857, a scientist saw a squid beak so big it didn't fit any known animal. That's when the kraken officially became real. Not a story. Not a drawing. A real physical part of something giant that lived in the ocean. For centuries, sailors in the North Atlantic talked about a beast that could wrap its arms around a ship and pull it under. Everyone laughed. People said they were drunk, tired, making it up. But how do you explain the same monster stories showing up again and again on maps, journals, and warnings? They called it the Kraken. But when Japetus Steenstrup looked at those massive beaks and squid parts washing ashore, he knew it was no myth. He gave it a Latin name, Architeuthis dux. Sounds like a boring science term, but it literally means giant squid ruler. That's a big name for something no one had seen alive. For a long time, that was the problem. No one had seen it moving, no one had caught it alive. Everything came from whale stomachs or pieces rotting on beaches. If it was real, why couldn't anyone catch it in action? Then in 2004, two researchers dropped bait almost 900 meters deep off Japan. A camera sat there waiting. And boom, something 8 meters long slammed into the bait. It grabbed hard, wrapped around it, and vanished. It was fast. It was strong. It was real. That moment changed how we saw it. This wasn't a drifting blob, it was a hunter. But even then, the footage was just of it attacking. What does it look like when it swims freely? Does it roam, or does it hide? In 2012, a deep-sea camera called Medusa finally captured it. The first full video of a giant squid moving through the water. No bait, no trap, just doing its thing in total darkness. They can grow 10 to 13 meters long with eyes the size of dinner plates. Why would it need eyes that big unless something else is watching back? It hid from humans for centuries. So, what else is hiding right now, deeper than we've ever gone? Okapi. In 1901, scientists finally got proof the African unicorn was real. You'd think it came from a fairy tale, striped legs like a zebra, body like a horse, blue tongue, and it lives deep in the forest. Too weird to be real, right? That's exactly what people thought. For years, European scientists heard stories about a strange animal in the Congo rainforest. Locals described it clearly. They knew its tracks, they knew how it moved, but nobody outside Africa believed them. Instead of listening, people joked about it. They called it a forest zebra or the African unicorn. Reporters made it sound like some magical creature. Why would a real animal look like 5 others mashed together? Even in the 1880s, when explorer Henry Morton Stanley heard locals talk about a shy forest donkey they called the attic, people still ignored it. No photos, no bones, no proof, no belief. Then Sir Harry Johnston showed up. He listened, he followed tracks. Locals showed him striped skins and a skull from the animal they called the OAP, and that changed everything. Scientists took one look at the skull and froze. It didn't match a horse or a zebra. It was closer to a giraffe, but shorter and hidden. That's when it got its name, Okapia johnstoni. Not a unicorn, a forest giraffe. Here's what's crazy. It had been real all along. It was about 2.5 meters long, stood 1.5 meters tall at the shoulder, and had been living quietly while outsiders called it a myth. Even today, the okapi stays hidden in the Ituri forest in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It barely makes a sound. It avoids humans. It's still hard to spot in the wild. Locals had known about it for centuries. They never thought it was a mystery. But because it didn't match what outsiders expected, it took decades to get recognized. So, what else are we missing just because we think we already know what's out there? Coelacanth. In 1938, a fish thought dead for 66 million years showed up in a market in South Africa. That's not a typo. This thing was supposed to be as extinct as a dinosaur. Then suddenly it was flopping on a dock, alive. Before that, All scientists knew were fossils. No skin, no movement, just rocks. The coelacanth was one of those ancient weirdos in textbooks with fins that looked more like legs. It vanished from the fossil record at the end of the Cretaceous. That meant extinction. End of story. Until Marjorie Courtney Latimer showed up. She was a museum curator, not a fish expert, just checking out a fisherman's catch. Then she spotted something strange. A blue fish, about 1.5 meters long, thick scales, and fins that bent like limbs. She had no idea what it was, but she knew it mattered. So she sent drawings to J.L.B. Smith, a real fish scientist. When he saw them, he sent one of the most urgent messages in biology. Most important, preserve skeleton and gills. Why would a scientist freak out over a fish drawing? Because this wasn't just rare, it wasn't supposed to exist. The fish was a living coelacanth, later named Latimeria chelumni, after her. A fossil species, alive, swimming, breathing, not extinct at all. Later, more coelacanths were found near the Comoros Islands, and then another species turned up in Indonesia. That blew the doors off the idea that we know what's gone and what's still hiding. These fish live deep underwater, in places where fossils don't even form. That means they could have been down there the whole time, just out of sight, in the dark, waiting. They're not fast swimmers, they move slowly like floating ghosts, but they're built to survive. They don't just break extinction rules, they rewrite them. If something scientists buried in textbooks can come back like that, what else might be missing, not because it's gone, but because no one's looked deep enough? Komodo dragon. In 1910, a Dutch officer shot a giant lizard on Komodo Island. Why? Locals said it could kill a man. That sounded insane. A land crocodile, on one island. Most people thought it was just a scary story. But when Jacques van Stein van Hensbroek sent the photo and skin to scientists, they stopped laughing. This wasn't a rumor, it was real. The lizard was over 3 meters long, weighed more than 70 kilos, and looked like it belonged in a monster movie. In 1912, it got a name, Varanus komodoensis, the Komodo dragon. Think about that. A creature straight out of a myth, now in science books. It wasn't hiding in the deep sea. It wasn't extinct. It was just on one island, walking around in the open. And it's not just big. It's dangerous. Its bite can kill a deer, or a water buffalo. It has venom glands in its mouth that make blood stop clotting. When it bites, the prey doesn't run far. It bleeds out. It doesn't roar. It doesn't sprint. It just follows and waits, like a real-life monster with patience. That's why the early stories sounded fake. A dragon that hunts on land? Too much. But once people saw it for themselves, they couldn't stop staring. In the 1920s, American scientists organized an expedition just to collect some for zoos. They became global attractions. Not just animals, legends in cages. Even the original King Kong movie in 1933 pulled inspiration from the Komodo dragon. Giant, unstoppable, grounded in something real. And the weirdest part, the locals always knew. They lived next to these animals. They warned people. It was the outsiders who thought it was nonsense. So, here's the question. If something this big and this deadly stayed off the radar for so long, what else could be hiding in plain sight on islands no one visits? The Chell snakehead. Imagine a fish that scientists thought was gone forever. Not just rare, but extinct for over 80 years. Suddenly showing up again. That's exactly what happened with the Chell snakehead. Back in the early 1900s, this fish was only ever known from a handful of museum specimens. After decades without a single confirmed sighting, many assumed it had disappeared from the wild entirely, gone just like a legend. Then in 2024, everything changed. Researchers working in West Bengal's Himalayan foothills found a few living shell snakeheads swimming in the rivers near Kalimpong. It wasn't a fossil, it wasn't a misidentified species. It was the real deal. A fish people believed might be nothing more than a name in a museum catalog. The shell snakehead is far from ordinary. Its body glows with bright stripes in chrome, orange, and yellow, and it has one of the most intricate scale patterns of any freshwater fish. Those vivid colors, combined with its long disappearance, made it almost seem like a creature out of folklore. For decades, no one knew if it was truly gone or just hiding in plain sight. So, how did scientists find it again? A local tribal community had been catching and eating this fish for years without telling scientists, which actually helped lead researchers straight to it. Once the scientists knew where to look and what to look for, they finally confirmed the fish's existence in modern rivers. This find isn't just about a fish swimming again. It reminds us that biodiversity isn't fully known, even in places humans can reach. Thousands of species worldwide live in remote or understudied habitats, and some may appear mythic simply because people haven't looked closely. And here's the really fascinating part. When you look at how many new species, from tiny insects to deep-sea fish, are still being described every year, it's clear we're far from cataloging all life on Earth. Scientists at major institutions described more than 70 new species in 2025 alone, spanning mammals, fish, reptiles, insects, and even previously unknown fossils. So, the shell snakehead isn't just a quirky rediscovery, it's a symbol of how much the natural world still surprises us. An animal once thought to be lost forever was actually still thriving, waiting for someone to notice. Stories like this shake up what we think we know about life on our planet. If a fish can slip through the cracks for nearly a century, what else might be out there? Hiding, unrecorded, and waiting to rewrite our understanding of nature. If even one of these got under your skin, let us know in the comments. And if you're down for more creatures, secrets, and stuff science tried to ignore, tap that next video right now.